Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of information, tips, and tricks. Not really so much tips and tricks, just general gameplay stuff. I'm by no means an expert, and everyone has their style. So, first things first, there's a couple glitches that I've found that's been pretty detrimental. If you reload your gun and use morphine injection around the same time, it can glitch your weapon, and not being able to drop it to reset the animation, it just freezes. It can lead to your death. It's happened a couple times to me. Weapons, what you choose to play with, it's all preference, pretty much. They can all win. I don't think there's a best gun. There's a lot that really do amazing damage, like the MP7s and the new SMGs they've put out. But they also go through rounds very quickly, which is why you got to balance what you use with what you're wanting to accomplish. Bigger round ammunitions that hit harder, they work well, but they're also more costly. Um, I've started to base a lot of my things on the military. I've been studying up on some stuff, such as M995, which a lot of people use on their 5.56 weapons and such. It penetrates armor very well. It's also $1,000 a round, meaning going through a clip is like 30,000 out of your profits. Okay, it only has marginal better penetration than M855A1, which is what I'm using and what seems to be pretty much standard for U.S. military. Armor types, usually headphones with basic level 4 helmet. You don't even really need, I don't think you have to have helmets, but it definitely will save you. Depends on how you play. If you're more stealthy, you probably won't have to have a helmet. When I run a sniper, I don't run helmets. But face shields, stuff like this, I feel like are better in close quarters, like very close quarters where it's easier to get face tapped. Headphones and things are very good as well. It just depends on if you're going to be rushing a room or if you're going to be kind of hunting and going at a distance. I'm using stuff like this because hatchet runners, things like that, is what I'm fighting at the moment. Bigger armor types I usually use when I use LMGs, such like that. But also, if you think about this game more like real life, you probably don't want to trade shots with your enemy. You want to overwhelm and overpower them. So M995 can land you a critical shot, yes. So it'd be better for picking targets and shooting at distance. And people like spraying ammo. And by all means, if someone is running the best armor, something really thick, by all means, spray that M995 into them. You know what I mean? But if you're running into that constantly, it's probably worth it. If you're not running into it very much, you're wasting $1,000 on a hatchling. You know, more than that on scavs, things like this. Uh, Rip ammo that I'm using, this MP5 right here. I used to use it just because it was cheaper than my running my FAL ammunition, because I run FAL all the time before. Could one tap somebody. I liked it. I didn't like full automatic spray all the time. And the rip ammo was really good at, it's good at stealth. It's good at picking targets off, which is nice. It's good at keeping gear and such in good working order when you kill somebody. Uh, and it works pretty well. But the ammunition went up from like 300 to like 600, 700. So it's getting pretty costly now. But you can still three burst from an MP5 into someone's leg and kill them. It's been working pretty good. It still works pretty good. I use it in night raids a lot because they can't really see you as much. The MP5s and the other SMGs are quieter. These are all kinds of things in loadouts. rip ammunition if you're in, say, like Shoreline Resort or something like that. You're not going to be able to get as well of a shot on somebody who knows you're there because they can use cover. If they have body armor and they use cover, your bullets aren't going to do much. This is something like grenades. You want to probably have one or two grenades on you. I use one flashbang, one lethal for the most part, unless I find more in raids. I keep one smoke as well. Sometimes it helps you like escape. It can help you press down a hallway, like in customs. If you were in a thermal scope, these are things with synergy. So thermal scopes with smoke grenades, you can smoke out hallways. You can smoke out uh, vulnerable areas and stuff, and actually turn them into a defense and an offense. So the thermal can go right through it. You see clear as day. Unless they have a thermal, they're probably not going to have such a good time. It's pretty effective. I've used it a couple times on Shoreline, and this as well. And this is where it kind of goes into squad play and stuff as well. You have synergy, okay? If your squad, if you're going like door to door and you think you're going to have a lot of fights, by all means bring more grenades. But if you have a squad, they probably each have one or two grenades apiece. That should be plenty enough to get through, kill some people, clear the thing, or just fall back. And with squad play, you're going to probably want to, most people just run and gun, that's fine. But if you have kind of roles, I would say if you have a squad of 4, 5, having a sniper or an LMG, something like that, which right now is I use the AKs or the RPK. Okay, you get 96 rounds. The clips cost like 20K on the market. 60 round clips for M99 or for 5.56 and such are like 40K a piece, even for the MP5s. So you're getting another clip worth of ammunition right here for half the cost. And this is the thing with a lot of value that comes with when you play uh, based on like cost, is you kind of decide what's really worth it. So MK3 rigs, 30K on the market pretty much. Black, was it? They're Black Rock rigs. They're going 50 or something. But this one can have a 4-section slot, which means you can run these 4-section mags, and it also means that you can run, you can pick up helmets, headphones, stick them in there. It's pretty solid. It's kind of worth it. MT 110 rigs. This is like my standard pretty much for most of my raids. Sometimes I use these Tactics. I use higher level body armor when I'm using lower caliber weapons, which probably seems counterintuitive, but it has been working very well for me because I need that extra survival when I'm using an ammunition type that can put me at a downside if I'm not in the right situation. I got to be able to survive those shots. Now, I also use them when I'm running the LMG because for all intents and purposes, if you're running a suppressive weapon like this, I probably want to be as heavily armored as possible. One, because I'm not running the best ammunition in this LMG. And these are things you got to think about when you go in squads, is that people are, they're pretty greedy. They don't really want to play squad play. Um, they're trying to get as much loot as possible. They will loot goblin you all, like, as much as they can, even if you're on the same side. So, things like this, eventually you gotta get to the point where you don't have to worry, like you're not worried about making profit. Like right now, I don't worry about making profit at all. I just kind of pick off people. I'm not broke. I'm just making more and more money every time now. It's just steamrolling off each other, and it's just off simple stuff like this, propane tanks, things like this. You don't need a billion graphics cards and such. You can make plenty of money off of items like these. This propane tank I just found randomly on the outside of the map. You can go in here and you can find, they're like 30, 40, going up into the 50s, 50K, for just like a simple item like that. And with a multitude of runs, if you do quick runs, you can get in, get out, get stuff like this, sell it, make a profit. It's pretty simple. It's not It's not that bad. Now, if you're going to race hatchet runners for the high-end items, you can build high mobility kits and run guns such as like the MP5 and stuff like this. But you can see like helmets and things. This has a turning speed and a movement speed penalty and an ergonomics penalty, which I think ergonomics factors into your max movement speed. I'm not positive though. This one has a turning speed as well. And this rig has a slight penalty, but if you look 8% on this, airframes don't really have movement speed penalties. They're pretty useful. You can get there about the same time or the same time as a hatchet runner and have weapons and armor, which means you can fight them over it. But the thing is, this game, it's a survival game, don't get me wrong, but it's not open world yet. So it's kind of better in a way and kind of worse in a way because it's a survival game where you're kind of tossed into tough situations because you know there's a time limit, you know that there's choke points, and you know where people spawn, which means you have to be able to move fast, but also be able to move stealthily at some point. And this is kind of, it takes time to learn. I'm still not the best at it either. As I've said, I'm not the best player in the world. I have kept up a 60 to 80% survival rate in the last two wipes, and my KDA has always been about 7 or 8. Uh, it's not it's not the best. It's not terrible either. It's like starting off in the game, making profit, especially now with the hiding or the hideout. Things like screws, bolts, cords, all these things, they used to be 9K or something to therapist last wipe, and now they're like 25K, 30K on the market. You can make plenty of money just getting basic items and selling them on the market until basically it influxes and everything depreciates because people are just sticking it and they don't need it anymore. But it's just all about cost and value, okay? So armors that I was using before, like the Gazelle, things like that, they're level 4 armors. They're like 150K and such. Uh, and then I started going up to Gen 4s. Gen 4s give a lot of protection, right? And the assault suits and the full coverage, they cover your arms. They're really good. But assault suits, things like that, they have 61 durability. Usually after like one fight or two fights, they're gonna be pretty messed up depending on how many times you get hit. And it counts for scavs too. So that is kind of a value trade-off you got to think about. If you're going to a place and you know you're going to fight people, you might want to just get in with the best armor like this, have the best chance to kill people, and survive. But if they're running the best ammunition, it's going to come right through this. If you fight scavs, they're going to weaken this armor down before you can actually get into a fight with a player. That's another big consideration, which is why I stopped using full protection and stuff. It's 300k for this max protection, which is nice, but you're fighting scavs. Scavs tend to shoot you in the arms and legs, which end up taking durability off of your armor, which really the most important part your armor has is protecting your thorax. Like, that is it. So you can have level 4 armor, like a Gazelle or something, which covers your stomach, which is nice. But you don't need your stomach to live. And now they have CMS kits, which can repair blackened out limbs. So you can easily repair your stomach, repair your arms, heal it back up, have as much protection as possible on your thorax and your head, because if those go zero, you're dead. It takes multiple rounds of an MP5 to get into your leg or your arm to kill you. Probably 5, 6, I say 5 to 8. I don't really know the exact numbers, but I've did a few sprays and it seems to be about right. But the MPXs and such, they can also cause bleeding. When you use RIP ammunition, that cause bleeding on your limbs, which means it's an attrition warfare. You get shot by one of these and they don't push you, and you don't kill them, you're gonna bleed out, and eventually you're gonna have to heal. So these are the kind of things that you got to think about when you're playing this stuff. LMGs, again, when you're using it, don't use the best ammunition in these LMGs. Even when I first started using this, I used like the second best ammunition. I have to look at the chart again. So the best ammunition was 7N39. Max penetration all across the board, all armor types. 37 flesh damage, 62 pin, 60 armor damage. Okay, really good versus picking targets off. It's really nice. You snipe them, long range, long distance, goes through. BS is cheaper, goes through anything pretty much besides level 6, about the same. A little bit higher flesh damage and stuff, so it's going to be better versus unarmored targets, things like that. So that right there, but it's still pretty expensive, and that's what I was using at first, and it was still about 30,000 a clip with that 90 something round clip. And the whole point of the, as an LMG is when you're in a squad play, you don't want to be trading shots with people if you actually want to live. So an armored LMG player in a squad, you're going to be wasting ammunition. If you're using the 7N39, sure, it's the best ammo. If you hit somebody, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. But BT Tracer, BP, and BP or PP, these are all things that are really inexpensive. So like I think it was BP, I think the BT Tracer, it can pin up to level 4 and level 5 armor, but it was still pretty costly. But BP was like 70 rubles a round. Pins up to level 4, and PP is even cheaper probably. Pins up to level 4. Uh, Alright, so BP does 48 flesh damage, which is better than all those, which is better than uh, the best ammunitions for 545 by 39 for flesh damage. But it also does 41 armor damage, so even if you hit their armor, you're going to be doing damage. So, you get into a firefight, your team is going to press. You're going to take turns shooting, you're going to pressure the enemy. Someone with this many rounds in a clip, you don't have to be accurate. It probably helps to be accurate, but you don't have to be. And you can easily hold a squad down. They don't know what type of ammunition they're using. It can still go through a level 3, level 4 face shield, which is the airframe, stuff like that, and it's doing armor damage. So anytime they're hitting you, it's going to be damaging your armor, which is pretty important because any little benefit that you get from stuff like that is massive. Because once you get into a direct line of sight, fire on fire action, it's like who more armor, who has more health, who has more ammunition in their clip. And that also does a good amount of limb damage. So 1 or 2 hits from that can blacken out a limb, which means if you get in combat and one of the bullets hit a blackened limb, they're going to be taking extra damage to their thorax, which helps your team out even more. Okay, so you kind of have to play around your squads. You don't have to have an LMG, but it definitely helps. And I think the LMG should be the most armored. They should be the first ones into buildings that are like close quarters. Because you find somebody, you hold them down with your suppressive fire, your teammates can get in position, you reload. It's pretty good. So these are the costs as well, like armor costs. My game's lagging out. I think we already put that up. Yeah. You have to look at the most protection. So Gazelle gives like 70 or 75 durability, protection over 2 areas. The trooper armor, which was something I started using next because no one else was, used to be about 60k. Now it's up to like 90 or 100k, something like that. It's like 75, 80 durability just over your thorax, which so it's maximum level 4 armor protection over your thorax, but you can get blackened stomach. But it also repairs very well. It's going to save you from chest shots, which is a big deal. And not that many people have seen to be running rip ammunition, things like that. And even if they do, those weapons are generally shorter range. They usually spray fire, which means if you actually move or take cover, they'll run out of these clips very quickly. And then you're going to be able to press them when they try to reload. Now, here's some other stuff, okay? Contacts and things, they work very well. They're good. Use them. They will save your life. Armor also saves your life, so it depends on how you want to play and if you need the actual uh, audio input, which is going to help you. It will help you, but I think if you're pressing rooms and you're flying around solo, the headphones would definitely help. If you're in the squad, armor can definitely help because your noise is already going to be kind of suppressed. You can have someone in your squad have headphones. Uh, you want heavy armor on your point man for sure. And you have to like try to divide up profits on your squad. There's like a general rule in this game where it's if you get the kill and such, you get the money, the profit. But in a squad play, it's just dividing up profits is going to be better. Someone who's watching a doorway or shooting an LMG to help you win battles deserves some compensation for what they're doing. Because if you take everything, it's just, and the less that you worry about money, the more money you're actually going to make because you're not putting yourself in vulnerable situations where your whole team is trying to loot all the bodies in a hallway. You have people actually watching out, listening, keeping track of this stuff, which is the whole point of having multiple bodies in a squad. Keep that. Now, making money and things, you're going to want to if you're going for like high value items, I find backpacks like this Birkin and things, you do not need super expensive backpacks, things like that when you go in to fight. Especially like big geared players and stuff. These right here, no movement penalty. They can hold a decent amount of stuff. They can hold enough stuff for you to actually make a profit. That's the big deal. As long as you're not using the super expensive ammunition, you can put plenty in here to make profit. And that's going to be a big deal. Now, if you're doing, I find if you're doing safer runs, if you're going for bulk item money instead of the most expensive items for money, and also if you're doing faster runs, if you're doing multiple runs in the same span that you would be doing one big run, smaller backpacks are good. You can go in, kill people, you can loot, get everything that you need, get out. It's pretty simple. If they have a bigger backpack, you can drop yours, grab theirs. It's an upgrade. If you're doing small item looting, like you're just going around and getting items, and a lot of these bolts and things are selling for like 15k or like 15,000 rubles a piece. It's pretty good. If you consider, what are some of the like electric motors and stuff like that, things that are like 30 to 50k on the market take 4 slots. it's you're gonna get more with a bunch of bolts taking the same amount of room. And this is the big thing too, is save up your money when you first start and grab a scav box. I'm gonna say it's probably one of the most profitable things you can buy. Saves a lot of inventory room, and this is something too, is if your inventory starts getting crowded, you have a surplus of money, buy more things that can hold more items. Another scav box, another med case. It helps clear up room, it lets you stash stuff for later, and it also lets you sell things in bulk, which is very useful. You can eliminate a big portion of your inventory, and it also like lets you upgrade your hideout. Now here's something as well. So inside gameplay, going prone, stuff like this, you can watch a lot of stuff with military, things like that. I think it transitions to this game, even if people don't use it very much, because y'all do run and shoot. Guys in the military, they're not going to be jumping off of boxes onto platforms and running around. Like that's always an element of surprise, which is going to be good. Even in real life, it's just harder to accomplish. They don't have infinite stamina. They can't instantly turn around. There's things in video games that you can do that you can't do in real life. Full auto spray in this game is very effective. You can laser beam people, but you can run out of your ammunition. You're using a lot of money doing so. Uh, it's probably best if used when they're right next to you, like when they are very close. And you can laser beam people from a mile away. That's fine. Okay, but here's some things. People play this game fast. They move very fast. And sometimes it's hard to hear them over your own footsteps. If you have a good headset, you probably can. Also, some of your player makes noises time to time, which sounds like someone else, which can be very confusing. Here's something though. When you start a match, strafe firing, stuff like this, can be inaccurate until you learn how your weapon sways. But also, you have three possible levels of crouching. Actually four. Okay, so you have your base standing, which has very rapid footsteps, which most people use. You have like an intermediate, which lets you crouch a little bit and gives you a slight movement speed debuff, but also increases your weapon stability, reduces your weapon sway while strafing, things like this. People don't use these. Then you have a normal crouch, which is going to be all the way down, sneak walking, such like this, and you have prone. Now, when you're going around corners, things like this, instead of scrolling on your wheel to get to these different crouch positions, you're going to save them. I'm going to show you when I go into this raid. I'm by no means an expert. I get like 20 frames a second on this game. Alright, so right here, we spawn. Hold C, scroll wheel down, 3 or 4 down, okay? Now, that gives you two options right here, which means when you strafe, you can see this. It doesn't move so much. Now, when you strafe like this, it's faster. It moves a little bit more. It doesn't matter as much for SMGs because they're usually probably close range. And the SMG doesn't have a lot of recoil. Bigger guns have more recoil. You probably want to use this. Now, you hear the footsteps pretty fast, yeah? They're multiples stuck together. You do this, it spaces out more of a normal pace, which makes it easier to hear other people running up on you. And it also decreases your sound just a smidge, so you might give an advantage being able to do this. Now, walking places, you can walk like this. This is free look. It works very well, okay? You can hip fire. Hip firing is a big deal in this game. If you're good at it, you can use it. There's not really much penalty to using it. Now, if you have problems seeing these people and you don't want to like increase your FOV because you want to keep a radius like this, you can aim down sights. It will zoom in a little bit. You can keep your gun down so you can see in front of you, and you can flick this up. It also instantly minimizes your sound to 50%. So when clearing buildings and such, you can go this down, do this. You still walk at a good pace. They can still hear you with headphones, but you'll also be able to hear them sooner as well if they're moving fast. This also gives you more stability, and you're a little bit slower on the strafe, but you can still shoot, right? Now, single fire, things like that, longer distances, auto fire, closer range if you really want to, but if you burn through your ammunition and you reload, that is a chance for them to kill you with no opposition. Pre-doing meds like painkillers and stuff before you go into a highly contested area is probably good. These raids like this as well, you can find simple stuff. Most people rush into the store. A lot of people have caught onto the power station. These chests right here, they got a lot of stuff. Those weapon boxes, they have lunch boxes that are sold for 20k a piece on the market. They're always in there every time. Find simple stuff like that to make money at the first, unless you just want to go kill people. And when you're doing these, you're more likely to have one-on-one engagements instead of actually having full-blown firefights with teams, which is pretty handy, and also lets the teams finish themselves off, so you don't really have to. I'm just looking for more expensive items right now. No way. Things like this. You come in here, IG phone. But you can find gas analyzers, things like that, in those toolboxes. You don't have to go to the highly contested areas to make loot. Not sure if that was my footstep. Right there, we've made profit. We don't have to do anything else in this raid if we really don't want to. You can hunt players down. You can stay in safe areas. Checking pockets and stuff is very well, because you can find good stuff in here. Also, take time to stop and like listen. People in this game, they play very fast. They play it more like Call of Duty shooter, which is fine. You know, it works. But they don't take time to do anything. So if you're going to extract and such, you can take some time, just walk. You don't have to sprint all the time. It's going to keep your stamina and stuff up. And you'll be surprised how many players will actually run up behind you. Like full sprint, full gear, coming to extract. Like this. You'll catch them out a lot because they'll sprint, they'll be out of stamina, they can't ADS effectively. You can win. Also, having your gun up is going to help you with people surprising you around corners and stuff. If you really want to, you can start aiming when you're walking. If you think you're in a highly contested area, it'll be good. Now, peeking down low, stuff like this, creep walking, good for sneaking, not really good for engagements. However, coming down at different angles can be good when fighting players. And also, when you walk like this, it makes noise. When you sidestep, not really. So it's a way you can catch someone off guard if you really want to. Sidestep around. It's also a way you can clear doors. So if you're going to do a standard clear, and you have a doorway, you can see this side, you clear it, 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 and you keep going. If you can't see, and you're coming through here, you can like clear this side, come around this corner. Now the options are you either do that and you pre-fire or something, or you do this, which is gonna have less noise involved, but also sticks you in an animation. So it just depends. I would say if you're going to crouch peek, instead of doing that, you do that. Like a real quick boom. Now, different elevations of your head, which is why now that we have 3 here that we can use, means that they have to readjust if they're trying to aim for their head. And also pressing shift is going to allow you to come back up to this, which is why we have 3 there, and then we have prone. Now, going prone in this game, it used to be pretty instant. Now there's kind of a delay, but used to you could like run around corners, hit the prone, and drop. You can still do it. You just can't aim as well when you do it. That's something to consider. But making yourself a smaller target is better in long range fights. Cover is probably going to be the best option. Suppressive fire is going to be something that'll save you if you can learn to do it. Saving your shots to actually see the enemy, especially in a game like this where they have peeker's advantage, won't be as beneficial, I don't think, to winning a fight. Like, ammo is ammo. If you use it and they kill you and you're out, by all means, I mean, GG. But you used everything in your power to survive. That's the whole point of that gear. Now, grenades and such, they are lethal tools. They can kill people very quickly. There's things you got to consider with grenades. F1 grenades are what everyone uses for the most part. They have a 2-second timer before explosion. They do the most damage. They have the most shrapnel. People don't like using RGO grenades and things. But how many times do you actually get kills with grenades? If you're pressing into a room, stuff like that, they probably don't have as much cover to use to survive the grenade anyway, and then they're forced out because doorways and choke points are a good way to die. They're more useful as it's kind of hard to explain. Taking dominance over a situation, I would assume. So say if you're in a firefight, you're shooting, you peek an angle, you fire, you lose the angle. Re-peeking that angle at the same height level, like you can do this and probably take one to the chest or something. You have a split second to kind of redo your aim before they shoot you in the face. You can even do the running around the corner, go prone thing, and have a teammate come behind you, so they distracts them to aim down, then your teammate shoots them. Stuff like that in team play could be good. But grenades and stuff is what they do is they cause panic. They put that risk of the player to hold that angle, which gives you an opportunity to take the angle away. That's what they're really good for. So an RGO grenade might have a 5-second delay, but that's 5 seconds that they have to worry about a grenade blowing them up, which means they're probably not going to hold that angle for 5 seconds. That door is closed. Couple IG phones in here. They probably just checked for a graphics card. They might still be in there though. Now, if you know someone's in here, you could pre-grenade it. Overloading people's senses is part of the squad play thing. It's part of the LMG, all that, because you can cover up your squad's footsteps and their actions, which is very nice. Right here, if someone knows that I'm here, doorways are kill boxes. I think someone is in there as well. What you can do is like close that, open this at the same time. Overloading their senses, splitting up their vision. They can only aim in one spot. So if there's one person, someone's running, they think they can get that angle, someone else can take them out. It's pretty simple. It takes time to learn, and it's going to be very difficult probably to find someone else to do that kind of stuff with you. Someone's already been in here, they just skipped all the IG phones. So, now here's something as well. Flashlights. Things like flashlights can be very effective. People use night vision goggles and things at night. Um, they are nice. Flashlights are cheap and they can counteract them. Night visions give you more stealth presence. It's a lot harder to locate somebody with a flashlight. But flashlights are also tactical tools. So when you're in a squad, there's an ability to move your gun like this, right? Which means you can do suppressive fire around a corner if you're an LMG gunner, such to hold people down and try to give cover while someone moves across a hallway. Now, turning your flashlight on can blind an enemy and give your team vision. If you put your flashlight on and you put it around the corner, they're not going to be able to see if you're there or not, which means they could blind fire this and waste all their ammo, force them to reload, which gives you an opportunity to press. It also means that they're going to give away their position. They're going to run out of ammunition before you do if they're just wasting it shooting this corner. Also, flashlight, if they can't see behind it, it gives you cover, or at least something kind of like a smoke screen for your teammates, which means they can walk behind this flashlight to the other side without getting noticed, which gives you an advantage in a firefight. Someone's here. think those were expensive. It's just something to consider. Also, I would recommend if you're going to use a flashlight, put it on the right side of your weapon. The right side is where you put your weapon on your arm, which means that your head is on the left side of your weapon. When you're ADSing, it's in front of you, sure. But even then, you can see if it's on the right side and they shoot at the flashlight, because a lot of people, I mean, that's how they're going to locate you. If they're blinded by a flashlight, they're going to shoot at the flashlight. If it's on your right side, at least you have a chance of those bullets going over the top of the flashlight and missing your head. Lasers, things like that, I would say on the bottom or left side. I would probably only use one flashlight, but I guess multiples could be beneficial. Sprinting like this, I think in open areas is probably best. You don't want to stay in them very long. Escalators, stuff like that. I need to put this on single tap. And looting stuff like this is very risky. But we were silenced. Toss these up here. What is that? Level 4 armor. That's a tough call. I don't really need the armor. I'm just gonna leave it. Pistol. You know what? We'll take a couple of these phones out. Stick that down there. Take the pistol. Check this. Probe it all. Money for alternative extracts can also be useful, such as the power station. I'm probably not going to use it this time. I'm just going to check this stuff up here. You got to like weigh the value of your engagements. Like, is it worth it to use all this money to kill somebody? Is it worth it to use $1,000 ammunition that's a little bit better for penetrating high value like armor? Is it better just to use rip ammo and try to leg meta the armored player? Did you get their armor and it'd be in better condition? Things like that. So going prone and stuff as well. So if you're a solo player, you're probably going to want to take cover. If you're in a squad, players crouching behind cover or going prone, when you hear a noise, go prone. They start spraying down the area. Have the rest of your team start flanking or move forward. They go prone, you get up, you start moving. It keeps the enemy from being able to shoot you, which keeps you from dying. You got to use your tactics over your armor. Y'all can all wear Altons and Gen 4 and stuff and spend 300k in armor, but you could also spend 50k on armor and then have 250k extra to spend on grenades, ammunition, things like that. A whole nother gun. And even with using bad ammunition, you can win the fights, especially with a grenade. One grenade can turn a fight. I have to start like zooming in like that when I walk around because I have a hard time seeing people at ranges like on that bridge. But like if I do this and aim across the sight, it's kind of bulky, but like I can see people better. You can also free look while firing. That's a thing. I believe since you can free look with your head as well, if you're trying to kill somebody and you're aiming your gun at them and they start like they have a pistol and they're going to aim for your face, you can turn your head, expose the right side of your head to their pistol. It might save your life. It's debatable. I rule silence for the most part. I think okay, so secondary weapons, valuable. I think they have a place. Also, guns like this, the MP5, you probably need one flashlight, but it does give you an extra storage slot when you have railings and such that allow you to add more lights like this. So now it has two. I only had one at the beginning. It's a free light, free slot. Maximizing what you're getting out of all this. Same thing with inventories when you're looting. Rigs, things like that that take 9 slots give you 10 or 12. That's more looting capacity, even with a smaller backpack. So take advantage of that as well. Sectors of fire and stuff like that, I don't think anyone in this game is really going to use. Clearing rooms, it's going to be hard to coordinate with your teammates unless you play on a daily basis. Taking time to not go immediately to extracts like me and going into the woods and things is going to be good if you have a lot of high value loot. Occasionally I do camp extracts and such. It's a big deal. Now, people's focus is something, even in the real world, can be taken advantage of. So, for instance, the other day, I was camping in that bush right there, the sniper rifle, or like a AR. I didn't want my bag to give me away, so I tossed my bag in the open. Some guy walked right on top of me. If he would have looked in like down at all, he would have saw me. But he saw the bag, which drew his attention to the bag instead of right there where I was, and he ran and looted it. And all I did was pop up and shoot. That's about it. Now, it's just value for money. That's pretty much what's going on. High risk, high reward, but you're going to be. You got to figure out if you're going to be able to actually pull it off or not. Also, it's like if you want to go to Kiba, for instance, or now they're all killing Killa, they're drawing all their attention to the middle of the store, which means there's going to be tons of players fighting in the middle of interchange. So you can loot on the outside, maybe get into a little engagement. If you really want to, you can move towards the middle of the store at the end and kind of scope out what's going on. Somebody's going to be looting or something, and you can easily pop them off, take what they got, and go. Overwatches are another good thing. So squads of, I'm gonna say you're probably gonna want to work with 2 or 3 people for like buildings and things. More than that, kind of gets crowded. Overwatches, snipers, LMGs, stuff like that that can watch over the top of you. So say you're going to a gas station on one of the maps. A lot of times you see like teams of 5 just roll in there. There's a lot of times my teams do that as well. But I've played a game that was open world that was like this called Miscreated. It's a pretty good game. It's just not as graphically advanced and such. Overwatches will save you. They tell you when enemies are coming for your team. They give away their position without you having to hear them or see them when you're inside the building and such. It gives you an opportunity to suppress a fire or distract the enemy from your allies. So say they're pressing up to the gas station, you see them, you tell your team about it. They're pressing up to a doorway. You start spraying fire down on them. It draws all their attention to the hill that you're on or wherever you're overwatching. They're trying to get to cover or figure out where you are immediately, which gives your team time to press, which means all the noise they're going to be making as well is going to be covered. Because if you have a full team next to each other, there's going to be a lot of noise, right? On comms, there's going to be a lot of noise with their footsteps. But if they're all together and they hear something onto the right, they can probably catch on that there's somebody near. They might not be 100% sure, but they're going to be alert. If you shoot a bunch of bullets at them and they all start sprinting around and stuff, and they're like, oh crap, where's this guy or whatever, your team can move up and clap them from behind. Really easy. Because they're not focused on the building. They have something drawing their attention. That's a big deal. You can also do that with flashbangs, things like that. If someone's coming up to you, or they're walking away from you, for say, and you don't really got a perfect shot, maybe, you can throw a flashbang or something around them, and it might make them, like, it's going to alert them, yeah, but it might make them look in that direction, because they're going to be drawn to the noise. So they're walking away from you directly in front of you, and you can't really get a shot because there's some cover behind them or something. You throw a flashbang to the left or the right, and then they look or they try to peek around a corner to figure out what happened, and that's your chance to strike. And the first one to strike is probably the first one to win, if we're going to be honest here. We're going to have to start selling some stuff. Now, weapon attachments, things like that, you do not need a fully modified, recoil-controlled M4, stuff like that. Is it helpful? Yes, but it's kind of also a waste. Now, full auto spray, things like that, the maximum recoil will be nice for sure. Single tap fire, you do not need maximum recoil. It's not. You're gonna spend 5 or 600K on a gun, and you're gonna get into an engagement where you have to use single tap fire or something, and you're gonna die and lose everything. If they're close enough to use full auto fire, there's a good chance that you really don't need to just aimbot on their leg or aimbot on their body or their head to actually kill them. It's probably like one shot to the head, two shots to the head, spray fire, you probably mess them up. Grenades and things will probably help you before that even gets to that point anyway. Suppressive fire is probably the only way that you're going to do it. And this game has automatic recoil adjustment anyway. So you can spray, pull down, you'll be good. I will say that, so let's say M4s. I had one somewhere. I have a bunch of them, but so this one right here, probably the best M4 that you can build. Has a big flashlight on the outside for tactical stuff. Big Reaper scope to use with smoke grenades. 32 recoil, so I can laser beam this at range and kill somebody. I was using these for a long time, and I just stopped. It's like the RK2 foregrip, 30 something K on the market. It's like skier level 2 or level 3 or something like that. You can get RK1, 12K, 4% recoil. First off, I don't use the RK2 in the first place. I use the CQR for the most part beforehand because it gives you like 14 ergonomics and 4% recoil, which to me was a better bargain because you're getting a lot of ergonomics, which means a little bit faster ADS, a little bit quieter, a little bit faster movement, which I thought was more important than just 1% more recoil. But this goes down the whole line is that you don't need all that recoil reduction. You can do a base M4. You can trade for it pretty cheap, or you can build it. I probably don't have one at the moment. I haven't used any of these fully decked HKs or anything ever since I started. You can just use an ADAR as well. If you don't care about full auto fire and you're at range, ADAR is perfectly fine. It can compare just as well as the M4. You just won't have the ability to full auto fire when they get danger close. Now, here, I'll build one real quick. So you go down here to Peacekeeper as soon as this loads up. I don't even really care about tasks and stuff. I got him up. He's like just level 1, level 2. I don't know how I got him to level 2. Probably doesn't require anything. But basically, you can go down here. You can trade 3 CPUs and 3 CPU fans for an M4. Depending on the price, it might be worth it or not. It's just simpler to me. This one costs money. So you buy an M4. And it's not very hard to get CPUs and CPU fans. Just go to computers, you'll find them. There's only 3 and 3. It's pretty easy. Now, when we go to presets, this is the base M4. You can use a base M4 with single tap fire and be pretty darn accurate. You don't need any attachments. You can be perfectly suited to kill somebody with this. I did it for a long time. There's not any problem with it. And then, single tap fire, they say it's connected to your FPS, but I have 20 FPS most of the time in these games, and I can still fight somebody. Like, I haven't really had much issues with single tap fire. Now, once you level up your stuff a little bit, there's a couple of options here. So, this bullet tech is maximum recoil. If you don't care about noise suppression, this is fine. When you're going for maximum recoil, I go for maximum recoil, which means 32, which means I'm going loud and proud and I'm spraying heavily armored people down. If I was fighting juggernauts like with Altons and things like that, I would probably use max recoil with the best ammo to make sure that I killed them as quickly as possible. But that just depends as well. Now, the CACQ, not very expensive, gives you a little bit of recoil, lets you attach the NT4 silencer. Now these things, you can find silencers. I still have a bunch of these just from looting weapon boxes. So those interchange runs and things with weapon boxes, just stash some of these things. And I'm starting to think about this as well. So like weapon weapon containers, I don't know, I don't remember what they're called, that you can get from like mechanic or things getting bitcoins. You can put like 2 guns in there and some other stuff if you really want to. You can hold the weapon attachments and all that stuff. I'm thinking the best way to use those is actually to just store weapon attachments inside and then buying the base weapon when you need it. So anytime you find silencers and things you want to keep, toss it in the box. Eventually, when you like to sell all the base weapons, and when you need another one, you just buy it, put it in there. Because like right now, I have a bunch of fully decked out weapons. They're taking a lot of room, and the attachments would take like a third of the space. Now, you don't have to change this if you don't want it. It doesn't really get in the way of any of your sights. M4 upper, you don't really have to change. The MIR is really good as well. I didn't even know this one was there. But the MIR will like reduce the recoil and stuff, but you don't need it. Charging handle, you don't really need. Definitely never need really this carrying handle. Doesn't really do much. So, I mean, you can attach a scope on the back of that anyway. I would say, uh, if you're not worried about ergo, none of this really matters. Right here in this grip, you will get the CA or KAC RAS handguard for AR-15s compatible. I think Peacekeeper level 2 or something. It doesn't really give you a lot of benefit, but you don't really need it. And then here, you have all these options, right? These are for ergo and stuff. This one has like 2% recoil with like 11 ergo, which is pretty nice, okay? But if you're not really worried about ergo, like I would think this is a good weapon. Like I wouldn't mind using that on an M4. It probably won't have that big of a difference. But these CQRs like this, 4% with a bunch of ergo, the RK4s, the RK2s, all that stuff, RK2 foregrip, 5% recoil, it's pretty nice, but it's 30K. For half the cost, you can get an RK1. It looks good. It works well, 4% recoil. Doesn't really have a big ergonomic penalty very much, and I would attach that. The second thing I would probably do is this right here with a PKO scope. This gives you a little bit quicker ADS times, even with the lower ergonomics. It's pretty useful. It also allows you to store another scope on your gun if you happen to pick one up, just like you did with the flashlight and stuff on the MP5, things like that. Pretty handy, I will say. And if you get good at shooting long range with this low sight, you don't really need a long range optic. I can't really do it super long ranges. I can do like medium to kind of long ranges with it, but I'm not going to say it's very accurate. So you can go in here and you can find like another scope, like the Bravos and stuff. It's okay. I don't really use a lot of these. The Valide is really good, but it's more expensive than a DRI, and it's like 10 or 20K more expensive than a DRI. It's a 1 to 6 times scope, which is better in sniper rifles and stuff. You can't really tell the difference very much with a DRI and that, the 1 to 4 times. So when you're aiming down sights, it basically gives you like, it feels like 5 or 10 feet, maybe like 5 feet more zoom. It's kind of what it feels like. But the DRI, 1 to 4 times, it's cheaper. It has a red dot in the middle of the scope, which can help you aim, especially in like dark areas, stuff like that. And I think the brown one's cheaper than the black one. I'm not sure. So, I mean, I'm fine with using that. It's not a big deal. Now, this right here would get you probably down to about 70. Yeah, 74 vertical recoil. At these levels, honestly, single tapping fire, even with like 70 plus recoil, you don't really notice it a whole lot. It kind of affects how fast you can rapid tap. But if you want to put this to the next level, you can keep the normal tube if you want, or you can get an advanced tube. The tube really doesn't matter as much. Like Colt A2 buffer tube, something like that. And you just get like a stock like that. Goes down to 69. That looks pretty good. It works. It's functional. Depends on the cost. If the cost on your items goes too high to really justify like another couple ergo or something, I really wouldn't use it. So like right here, you got that, and then the best ones is HKE1. So it gets you down to 63 recoil. If the costs on these are too much, use a different stock. That's about it. 63 compared to like 69, I mean, it's a difference, but it's not the biggest thing, especially when you can really die by any point you can die. Now, would that extra 50K for another 3 recoil reduction have saved you? I mean, possibly, but it's likely that you did something else that got you killed. In all honesty, button this, I mean, you can single tap, it's silenced, which means that you can pick people off without them knowing where you are. You got close range optic, far range optic to help you snipe and also help you in close quarters. It has a good recoil control. And with this M995, if you're going against high value targets or if you're going on a big open map where sniping is more prevalent, I would say M995, especially in sniping maps, because one bullet can mean a lot on there. You're not going to have as much CQC for the most part. Standard maps, things like that, M855A1 does the job every time. You might even just use it on the sniping maps as well, because you can carry 3 times the ammunition for the same exact cost. It's a lot of ammo. It's a lot of utility there in ammo. The rest is really up to just style, things like that. And like the more you use a weapon, so like if you use a base M4 for like 20 raids and you make a lot of money, buying like a grip or something to help you a little bit, I mean, it doesn't cost much. It's not a big deal. But these are some of the other M4s that I had. I had that one that's souped up. This is souped up. I think this is from a friend. This is the best one you can get for recoil. This is something I got off a player. I mean, you can see, like, and I used this for a long time, and I got it back insurance. And this guy, he had a RK2 foregrip, a silencer, uh, the best butt pad that you can get. So his recoil is probably about the same as mine right now. But he was sniping people on interchange and stuff with that. It wasn't too bad. This one I got off a player as well. 2% recoil reduction, 60 round clip, the Mo with the butt pad, and a silencer. So this is probably around about the same sort of area. I'm just gonna go look at these prices here. So 14K for skier, 70 bucks from Peacekeeper. I probably won't have enough to buy that without getting some more money from Peacekeeper. Let me just go over here real quick. Grab me like 1,000. I think I probably broke the game. Moving is also pretty important. Don't just hold one spot. Like if you're pressing down a hallway, I mean, press it. Get an advantage, take it over. But rotating is a very big deal. Gets around cover. There's a reason flanking dominated warfare, and it still does. Ancient warfare, modern warfare. There's a reason cavalry was so powerful too. It's quick, hits hard. You don't need cavalry anymore when you got an M4. I think I messed up the thing. HKE1. I think that's what it was. Filtered by propane. It's a Viper. Gas blocks and stuff. I mean, the other ones, they just get rid of this, but you don't really need it. just get the black one. Get a couple style points, you know. Spoil yourself every now and then. Okay. So 16K for fence. Man, they jumped on that quick. Okay. 15K for this. As you can see, like the price just keeps going up. $37 for a scoop. Did I not get the HKE one? Let's see what happened. Something weird's going on there. Get the DRI. If you're going on a close quarters map, you probably don't have to bring the DRI as well. So, I mean, make adjustments to your weapon based on what you're going to do. Don't just bring the same loadout every time, because sometimes there's just no benefit. Like, if you're going into a close quarters thing like resort or dorms, you probably don't need a silencer unless you're sniping. So, having the compensator to actually have more recoil, stuff like that, or muzzle velocity is a good one. Muzzle velocity is big. Slap on that. Or not. There's a lot of lag or something going on here. The RK1, and I guess we're going to put a silencer on it, so save that. Do a link search. I probably have a silencer in there. I'm just kind of lazy and I don't want to find it. This one's 37 and this one's 29. So it's just, do you want to spend more? I might just try to get this 27. The color doesn't really, I mean, it's good for camo, don't get me wrong, but I'm not super worried about it. Now that we built this, though, I don't think we have anywhere to stash it. That's the dilemma. We can see. Was it 69 or something? It's still up there, but It's not terrible. And trust me, like you can full auto spray with this. Medium range, full auto spray, pull down like a little bit, like a second. Just pull down when you shoot for a second. It's just as accurate. It's not the big deal. And sell all your weapon parts to stuff. Disassemble weapons when you sell them to these guys. You'll make more money, like 4 or 5K or something. I wouldn't bother selling stuff on the market like that, unless you think it's going to sell very quickly. That's part of the thing, turnover. Anytime you're not selling stuff on the market, you're not going to be making a profit. So if something's not selling, you probably need to redo it. And every time you put something up, it costs you a little bit, so keep that in mind. Eventually, it's probably just better to sell it to the trader. It's also something you're keeping out of your enemy's hands. So, all right. So, secondary weapons. People usually bring one primary weapon because they think that it gives them more space, and it does. It gives you more space. It gives you more weight, is like less weight as well, so you can move faster. Um, but the utility of a secondary weapon like can't be stressed. Like if you're in a map and you know that you can get into a long range engagement, and you have a shotgun. Like shotguns are good. They're more useful than people think. But carrying a Mosin doesn't hurt. So think about it basically like this: grenades, things like that, 9, 12K, something. They can kill one person. You get one use. They could kill a person. They can give you an advantage in a hallway. Now, if you're using like an SMG or something like I am, I'm not really planning on getting in long range engagements, but if I do, I'm out of luck. Like I'm done because I would have to like cover ground and get close to them to actually start using my SMG effectively. A Mosin, which I used to carry, like I used to have 3 or 4 of them. I still got a few of them in here. I don't use them as much anymore because I don't have inventory space. It's the main thing. But they're cheap. They don't cost a lot. You don't have to put a lot of attachments on them to make them effective. They can one tap anything. Like you can just take out someone with the best gear in the game with one Mosin shot. It costs 6,500 or so to insure a Mosin. It's cheaper than a grenade. You can find the ammo all over the place. There's no reason not to bring like a secondary like that. Unless you're bringing something like an AR, like a legit assault rifle that can do long range and close range fight, you should probably bring a secondary weapon. Now, pistols as well, you might not think could be super useful. And I think bringing multiple clips probably isn't super useful. But I'll take experiences from like PUBG and such with this. So the clips don't take as much room, so you can actually bring multiple clips for your pistol, which is nice. Okay. But pistol clips usually only carry like 17 rounds or such, depending on the size of your pistol clip. So something that carries like 18, it might be more useful to just carry 2 pistol clips because you'll get like 36 rounds, whereas like a normal magazine you can get 30 rounds, so you get more rounds per like area. But A pistol, honestly, I think is an emergency weapon, kind of like PUBG. It takes up too much space to be carrying extra ammunition just for your pistol. So just keep one clip in it and keep it at your side. If your gun, eventually when they add jamming and stuff, it's going to be a big deal. But right now, if you're firing it, you run out of ammo, you have that backup weapon. And there's been a couple times in fights where, like, even I've died to this, where I get into a fight with somebody, they ran out of all their bullets in their weapon, and they swap over to a pistol, and pistol tap you in the kneecap, stuff like that. Um, it's it's pretty useful. There's not really much you can say. Like, it's just like the Mosin. It just gives you a backup. If you have a secondary primary, you probably don't need the pistol, but it's all preference as well. I originally started using pistols for scavs, so I wasn't wasting $1,000 ammunition on scavs, but it's not a big deal anymore because I don't use that anymore. So it's just some stuff to think about. And you want to resell some of this to like make some of your money back. Well, it's not a big deal either. Picking up keys as well is a good way to make money. It's like all those extra keys, stick them in your key ring. But there's been a few times where like a Mosin has gotten me a win in a fight. So I used like a shotgun with AP20, got into a fight in a hallway. He was reloading, and instead of me reloading, I swapped over to a Mosin. And when he came back around the corner at each other, like I just one tapped him in the chest. His armor was already shredded from the AP20, and the Mosin does a lot of damage. It's just strange things like that. People don't really use that. But how like 6,500 for a weapon that can be used multiple times to get multiple kills, probably more effective than a grenade. And you just toss it in a bush. When you pick up another weapon, just toss it in the bush. And this is kind of the thing with like real estate when you're talking about profits in this game. So ARs and things are really good. Shotguns can be really good. They can one-shot scavs. They can destroy players, especially if someone doesn't actually get a shot on you. You don't have to have perfect aim unless you're using slugs. And they're pretty good at close to medium range combat. And you can bring a secondary to help you with long range combat and still be under the price of one modded out weapon. Like a base Mosin for like, I don't even know how much they are now, like 30K or something, and a shotgun, which you can get off any scav, and you can be effective in every engagement. That's not too bad. And you just toss it in a bush and go about your way. But that's something too. Shotguns, not only can they be cheaper to run, be just as effective, but they also have less slots to take up. You can have 40 shotgun shells take up the same slot as one clip of ammunition. That's it's not bad. And shotgun shells and things are usually less expensive, so you don't have to you can drop that stuff pretty easily, but you probably don't need to. And you do burn up through some ammo in fights for sure, but it's not bad. Definitely gonna sell this propane tank. client stuff's like tripping out today. Right now, this is just becoming more of a business than anything because I can't keep my inventory clear. I need to add more storage. So I might trade in my let's go get some dollars. Sell that to him. Sell this beard. I reuse a lot of gear that I get off people. So. Also, like keys. There are some really good keys in this game that can make you a lot of money. But honestly, I think the best keys are things that add on to your best routes. So I did a lot of interchange when I first started playing. I still do a lot of interchange now. My route is pretty simple. There's a $5,000 key or 5,000 ruble key that nobody used at all. And inside it has two weapons boxes, like a weapons box and a weapons crate, and a shotgun spawn. So the shotgun's like 20k. The weapon boxes always have lunch boxes in them, which are 20k. It spawns. I've gotten Reaper scopes, uh, Validays, all kinds of stuff out of it for 5k. And I got my money back like 4 times fold. It's the first time I used it. And now over the raids, like it's just that little bit of extra money that keeps going and going and going. So there's not really any point of not doing it. But it's something that you probably didn't think of. Like no one really does when you're going through. So I kind of just want to sell that crap to therapist. Half of this I'm never going to use. And I have like a bunch of stuff like this saved up. So I need to sell like all these bolts and things. They're like 15k a pop. This is like the backup stash. If I sold all these, I would have a lot of money, but I don't really need a lot of money. Like as long as I have a million, I'm happy. And now when I'm playing these raids, like I'm helping people get money and I'm keeping us all safe because I'm actually watching. And the people I don't, like the people I play with, they don't watch at all. So, and you'll find all kinds of stuff as you go through. It's kind of like simple things that you don't pick up are actually worth a lot. Like these measuring tapes and things. I was picking up bolts and screws and stuff before. I never picked up measuring tapes. And then I figured out like you collect these tools, you can build them into toolkits, which sells for like 40 or 50k on the market. And all I needed to do was get measuring tapes to finish it. Like that's a lot. These cords, 25k a piece or more on the market. Sometimes they go down to 20. Books are a lot, stuff like that. But it's things like, was it can of squash right here? I didn't pick these up for the longest time. Like I would see them and I was like, oh man, I'm not hungry. I'm not picking them up. And then one day I was going looking for food on the market and I was looking and these things sell for 35, 40k a piece for one slot item. So you might want to go and explore a little bit on the trading post just to see like what's going on over there. Because there's some items that'll sneak up on you. And here's the thing too, if you're doing an LMG, and you're doing suppressive fire for your team, you don't have to buy ammo. The AK and the RPK, like scavs use their ammo all the time. Right here, PS, 10 rounds. I could have got 30, 40 rounds out of this if I picked it up off the scav. Like, they use a lot of AKs. Like, unload this. FMJ. This is the wrong caliber, but you do get kind of what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to buy ammunition for suppressive fire in a team, which means if you're playing in a squad, you can actually go in with like low budget, like a pretty low budget, and be okay because you're suppressive fire and they have the big bullets. You're just softening them up. I need to stash these phones. I need to sell all those phones, to be honest. Right now, I'm just kind of throwing everything in my container. I'm going to have a clog up here in a little bit. We already know. Unload that. Stick that in there. What kind of ammo's in here? Crappy ammo. I'm just going to sell this mag. And stick that in there. Euros. Got some Tachanka. We got another grenade still. I like to hotkey my grenades so in case I don't need this stun. Because right now it goes stun, lethal, smoke. For the most part. We got this, which we're going to have to sell off later as well. I just got too much stuff spread around. I probably need to buy another junk box at some point because this one I just bought. And you can see it's almost all the way full. I just don't have time to sell everything. Well, in any case, these are just like a few kind of informational highlights, I would say. Uh, Sporadic. I didn't really have any order, but it's been somewhat helpful for me. Hopefully, it was helpful for you. Um, if you happen to stumble across this, like, hopefully it helps. I don't really get like a lot of viewership or anything, so I don't plan on it being super popular. But also, if you want to discuss anything talked on here, like, I'm completely open to it. I definitely want to talk about it. I've talked about people or talked about it with people in Discord and stuff for hours and hours before. It's interesting, kind of like how the numbers work.